You deserve quality healthcare for your body and mind regardless of your ability to pay. That's why Bowen Health conveniently offers trusted mental health care, primary health care, and addiction recovery treatment for everyone. Having regular checkups with a provider you trust means they can catch concerns early before they become an emergency. For compassionate healthcare, make an appointment today at bowenhealth.org. That's bowenhealth.org.
Kim, that was false alarm. Now we're ready to go.
Yeah. Woo! I'm back.
5 minutes in.
Do I look bold?
Like you just got done from kid camp. Adventure camp.
Exhausted. I didn't even go today. I just checked them in, checked them out. I go tomorrow.
How is kid camp?
It is excellent. Today they went to West Plains Mining, and they went underground into the mines. Have either of you ever done that? I know they're a customer of yours. You have been in the mines.
I have not been to West Plains, but my brother used to work in a coal mine, southern Indiana, and I have been in a coal mine where it is darker than dark. It is void of any light.
Yeah. And they do a great job. But so today that's what the kids did. They went to West Plains Mining. They went in. They learned about geology and rocks, large equipment, and then they went to Bass and Bucks and learned about archery.
How fun.
Very cool.
How many kids are in the camp?
We have a max of 25.
And they're maxed out?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. That sells out within 24 hours.
I know Bob Land, who I work with, he's always excited about bringing the kids out and showing them how to fish and do all the outdoor stuff.
Yeah, that's always day one. Isaac Walton League is so good to us.
Yeah, very cool.
Yeah.
Well, I think that's a great place to start, though. I mean, the stuff that is happening right now in Wabash County.
Yeah.
It's been 6 months, guys, since the three of us sat in this studio and brought in the new year. It was back in December when we actually recorded. It was our very first episode of 2026. And here we are at the end of June, beginning of July. And
wait a minute. We've not been together, just the three of us, since we did the kickoff for season 2.
that's right.
Good to see you guys. It's been a while.
Good to
All
see
of us
you.
together, like in one space and sitting still. It has really actually been a while.
We've recorded with some guests,
Yeah.
some great episodes, but just the three of us sitting in
yeah.
here and talking about what's going on and sharing what's going on in our personal lives and our professional lives, and then what's going on in the community. So this tonight is going to be a great conversation of all the things that have been going on and things that we are looking forward to in the rest of 2026, maybe even a little tease of projects and things that we're working on in 2027.
Okay.
So welcome back to the ThriveIN Wabash County podcast.
Wow. Feels good to be here. I'm a little nervous where he's going to take us, aren't you?
Yep,
Like I felt
absolutely.
better when I had my printed list.
I got here extra early so I didn't have to drive.
Yeah.
And
I knew that's what he did.
I'm stuck in the driver's seat this
You're
time.
good at it.
You pulled my move on me because I think I did that last time. I got
Yes.
here early, so I didn't have to sit. In the
I've
driver's
lost twice that I've had to sit over there and drive unexpectedly.
It's too much responsibility.
seat. And that's okay.
That's okay.
Speaking of responsibility, you are going to have some responsibility. You're getting ready for a big event in your life. I think we just open this can,
Let's
open
do
this
it.
episode, and just pour it out.
Do it.
Every day is a big event.
What is
Every
going
day's a
on
big
in
event.
Alex's life that we should all be celebrating right now?
Well, since the last time the three of us were in the room, if that was truly that long ago, I got engaged in the middle of May. And
amazing.
Congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you. Yep. Outkicked my coverage for sure. She's a rock star. And we are just not letting any grass grow under our feet, getting married in about 45 days. In mid-August is when the wedding will be. And met in the MBA program at Manchester 2 years ago. And she finished hers in a year. It took me 2 to finish mine. She was more ambitious than I am. So met through that program. I finished and proposed at graduation after I finished my MBA. And then we're getting married actually on Manchester's campus. So yeah, really exciting.
Now, I don't want to put any pressure on you guys. She doesn't currently really live in Wabash County. She grew up in northern Indiana.
Yep, grew up in the Goshen area. Yep, grew up in Goshen and works for a company that's headquartered in Goshen, but has her product runs out of a plant in Goshen and a plant in Fort Wayne. So she splits time between the two. And so she's moving to the county after we get married. So August 16th, I think, will officially be her first night as official Wabash County resident.
Working on making that population number go up. Doing your
It's
part.
about time I did do
Doing
my
your part, Alex.
Congratulations. We are so grateful to have her join our community. She's already, so engaged. She volunteers. She shows up, You know, even just when you two were early on dating, you bringing her to volunteer events and stuff like that. And so we're just really, really happy for you, not only to be engaged to someone so special, but also congratulations on getting your MBA and working full time and building out brand new projects and programs. That talks a lot about who you are and your care for Wabash County as a whole. Bravo.
Bravo.
No, thank you. Our first day was at Harry's, Old Harry's. And so that was, I'm glad it's reopened now under, now it's called the Old Kettle.
Which was the original name.
Okay, so back to the original name.
Yeah.
Had lunch there the other day. It was great. But our first date was there. And then, I think it was the second date where I told her that if this was going to continue, she knew that I wasn't leaving Wabash. And so she knew what she was signing up for.
Yeah, good.
If it progressed. So, and here we are.
I have to ask a big question. It's huge.
Yeah.
Does she like pets?
No.
So it is literally a perfect match.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
I thought for sure
I may
she
not
was
have
gonna
popped
be
that one
like-
out on the first. That one probably was a first date question. Was how do you feel about animals and pets?
Christine, I remember meeting her for the very first time, I think more in passing than anything, but I immediately told you that this was very special.
Yeah. Another friend of mine met her too, Crystal Lester, and she said, man, I met Alex's new girlfriend. They're perfect for each other.
She matches your energy.
Matches her energy.
I think she has more than I do. Some
Highly
days.
intelligent, great conversationalist, genuinely interested in who we are, what we do, and then remembers it and always follows up and asks. She's just very intentional.
Yeah, she's so great. I mean, for me, and when I see her interact with others, it's like when she's talking to somebody, they're the most important
Yes.
person in the world, and she retains it all and is genuine in it. And she's great.
Yeah. And for me, she came across much older than her actual age in her conversation and her intelligence, what she was interested in, or at least how she engaged with me. So I was blown away the very first time I met her.
Yeah, wise beyond your years.
Yep.
Huge
So
heart.
we approve. If you hadn't,
Thank you. I should have asked that before.
Yes. Well, I don't know why
proposing.
we were
I don't know why we waited
consulted.
this long. Yeah.
But listeners, Adam and I were like 2 thumbs up, right? We think
Absolutely.
she's amazing.
Yep. Nope. Outkicked my coverage. She's great. Very fortunate.
And we're excited for you both.
Thank you.
Very
Thank you.
much so.
So exciting summer. A lot of life things going on. So
And at the same time, you've got a recurring program here in Wabash County that you helped initiate, the fellowship program, which is just now getting kicked off. And fellows are all over the community at their employers. So I've seen them at the Y, Run the River, which we'll get around to talking about here in a little bit. So tell us a little bit about the program and where that's at this point.
Yeah, and we had, I think, couple of episodes on the fellowship program. One kind of where its origin, where it came from with Connor Heineman, who now is the program manager, and then one with actual fellows last summer, I think, when they were in town. So listeners can go back to season 1 and listen to those episodes. But we're in our 3rd summer. We have 18 fellows this year, which is the most we've had. That was intentional to grow the number this year. As we look moving into year 4, we're really taking a step back. And after this summer finishes, we'll try and finalize some of the details because we've learned a lot, right, after 3 years and have continued to make tweaks along the way. This summer is no different. So we're really, really excited. We have, I think, every employer that's participated in the past is back in the program this summer and then have expanded that, some to new employers, some to organizations that have hosted multiple now this summer. And so, really exciting. We've had great community feedback throughout the first 2 years and into the 3rd year about the fellowship program. One of those ideas came from you, Adam, and that was, gosh, why don't we have an intern? The Community Foundation, as a part of the program, have an intern who participates in the fellowship program, but their role is to help with all the activities and engagement of the other fellows so that it's a staff person that's living among the fellows to increase community engagement and earlier on in the summer be able to tell and communicate to those fellows all of the different things in the community. And so whether it's a planned event or it's organic, be able to help communicate that earlier to maximize the experience. And so we did that. We had a fellow that was in the program last year come back this summer. Jordan Leiniger is our fellowship intern for the Community Foundation and works hand in hand with Connor and the Visit Wabash County team and all of our partners throughout the summer and has done a fantastic job. I mean, even before I met them and before they were all here, some of these stories, I mean, from karaoke at 2 different bars at 2 different ends of the county, safely, of course, but just they genuinely enjoy being together already. And it's been really fun. I've only actually, this early in summer, gotten to meet them a couple times, but I'm excited for the rest of the summer and some of the events that are coming up. Seems like a really, really great group, both mix of local residents. I think 2 of the 18 are from Wabash County originally. So it's great to have them in the program, and then others from local counties in the region, and then some, again, just across the country have decided to spend their summer with us. So we're really excited about that. And as I'd mentioned, continue to get great community feedback on the program and look year 4 to make some changes to the program just to maximize its effectiveness and impact, hopefully, to local students and Manchester University students and beyond.
And I'm glad that you took me up on that idea. And if I think of all the fellows that I got to meet last year, because I do think it was important that a fellow that you would have hired onto the community foundation as the intern had some past experience. Mm-hmm. And so to know that you brought Jordan back for year 2, she high energy, super bright. I spent a little bit of time with her last year, especially when we did the river trip. And she came across as just high energy, could rally those kids. Maybe it was after a night that they had been out and having some fun. She could get them out, get them going, and she's the perfect, I don't want to understate what she's doing, but she's the perfect cheerleader
100%.
for the, the internship program and for Wabash County. As an outsider, she wrapped her arms around it. So looking forward to seeing her. She was actually at one of the events that we just hosted in Wabash County, Run the River.
She ran in it.
She ran in it. That's right.
With a smile on her face the entire time. I don't think anything gets that young lady's spirits down. She's
no, every day I
always
see her,
nice.
I say, Jordan, how are you? Just peachy. Every day, without fail. On the phone today, she was working from Wabash. She works obviously around the county.
Yeah.
And I talked to her on the phone about something this morning, and it was, Jordan, how are you? Just peachy. Every day. That's her mentality.
Yeah. She's choosing joy. She's choosing to approach her work with joy every day, and you see it, and it emanates from her truly, authentically. Yeah.
So Jordan was there running.
Yeah.
Then Visit Wabash County has 2 interns this year.
We do.
And they were both there working,
Yes.
taking photos. I saw them kind of run around picking up, setting up. They were there all day long. But then there was a lot of other fellows that were there running the event as well.
Yeah.
Do you happen to know, Christine, how many off the top of your head?
I can't remember. I know there were at least 2 or 3 that ran. Does that sound right to you, Alex? Yep. We are so proud to have 2 fellows from the program. And anyone listening who ever has listened to our past episodes, heard Alex earlier, the fellowship program, the fellowship participants are excellent. They're pre-screened and vetted before the company even gets the opportunity then to view those who've applied. They're the best of the best. I could not be happier with, and my team feels the same with Amelia and with Rosalind. They are excellent additions for the summer.
Congratulations to your team on another well-executed event.
That's Stephanie, but yes,
Run the River. But it takes the entire team, and you guys all show up early that morning. Yeah. You're working late on a weekend. And this year, we didn't have perfect weather. Yeah. I know that you and I are going to sit down and have an episode on the Dam to Dam that'll be coming up later this year in September. And I think we've got an exciting guest to bring on, Bill Rao, who was there from year 1 before anybody else, because this ride was for him, by him, to celebrate a special occasion on his 50th birthday. So I'm excited to bring him into the studio and share the story.
Me too.
From the man, the myth, the legend, Bill Rao.
Well, what about you? You've had an exciting change in your life too at home.
Are we talking about graduation?
I think we're talking about empty nester over there.
Well, so yes, my youngest son, Isaac, he graduated from Northfield a few weeks ago. It hasn't quite sunk in yet, honestly, because he's still at home.
Right.
And my other son, my oldest son, Owen, who we've talked about on the podcast, he's been on here for one episode before, where he's walked across the country over the last couple of years. And so he's back also to celebrate his brother's graduation. And so it almost feels like I've moved away from empty nester and I have more kids in the house more often. Isaac's super social, so his friends are always over. So it hasn't sunk in yet, but I know it's coming.
And he has big plans.
He does. He is in the process of, fingers crossed, he can get into the Army National Guard. We're just waiting on a medical clearance from an past injury that he had, but he is really excited and has some big goals ahead and how he's going to apply himself there and then use it to help get his education in college. So he's on a great path.
That's
Yeah.
awesome. Congrats,
excited
Adam.
for him.
Isaac is but they're both very impressive, but so impressive in different ways, which is also wonderful. And so, if any of our listeners remember, Isaac was our high school intern in the office of the marketing department, and we really got to know and appreciate him, and are thrilled for whatever's next for him as well.
Yeah. He's really excited. He's a skateboarder, and so he's been spending a lot of his summer right now. You'll find him at Wabash Skate Park. He goes to Peru. Yesterday, I think it was, he went to Lafayette. He goes to Columbia City. He is not afraid to drive to find a good skate park.
It's all that VWC money he earned for
Last time I saw him with this skateboard, he was strutting around downtown with his Tommy Bahama shirt unbuttoned,
Oh, yeah.
and he was just cooler than a cucumber.
That's Isaac. I have to give a huge shout out to David Nelson from the paper. The man is everywhere around our community and covers us really well. But the way that he covered all of the high school graduations, including Isaac's, which super proud dad moment here. Isaac was allowed to give the closing comments at the Northfield graduation ceremony. And he had known for quite some time, and he kept that a complete secret from his mom and I. We did not know until we sat in the audience and opened up our little pamphlet, and we see his name, and we're just absolutely shocked.
You're like, what the heck is he going to talk about?
He did a fantastic job, and thankful that David Nelson was there and was able to capture that, and then met us outside for some photos afterwards. But the way that he captured all of the graduations, remarkable.
I think I asked you this. What was the biggest, best line from Isaac's speech?
Gosh, I can't remember exactly how he worded it, but basically is bite off more than you can chew and then figure it out.
Yeah.
And I think, that applies to a lot of things in life, and not to settle, just go for it.
Yeah. David Nelson, just to echo, which I think the summertime, always, right? David's great. I mean, we're so fortunate to have a small town news journalist like David that is just out early in the morning, late at night, covering anything and everything, right? There's some days, depending on what's going on in the community, you may see David 2 or 3 times, right, at different things. If we're all getting to go on our free time and enjoy it, or if it's a work event and then a personal event, David is there, right, to cover it. And most rural communities don't have that anymore, right? That journalist that's taking that approach. And so, yeah, just really grateful to see and follow David on social media and watch the pictures that he takes at everything and how he documents it. We're just really grateful. Our new marketing manager that started a couple weeks ago came up to me and just made the comment like, man, that guy's at everything, right? And he's only been at a couple of our things that he's seen him at, and David's always there, right? We're very lucky.
There is a past episode with David Nelson that I did. Yeah. So if you didn't check that out, you want to know more about David and what, where he got his education and got his start. There's a full episode on David. He does a remarkable job. He's also, I think because of some push from some local people, he is starting to sell some of his art. He is a true artist with the camera. And so visit Wabash County, and I think the Wabash County Museum also have his art on display, and you can buy it there. And him and I have talked outside at other events that I've seen him at, like Honeywell Arts Academy, and he is looking at ways to kind of grow that and share that with the world. So love to support David and all that he does, but he is there early mornings, late nights, covering storms, covering Run the River in the rain, and high school graduations and everything in between.
Yeah. That's great perspective. I never thought of that. We see him everywhere, but we see him at our work functions that we're hosting, and then we see him when it's our downtime and he's still working and covering it.
Yeah. Absolutely. Speaking of graduation, Alex, you did an episode with valedictorian and salutatorian from Wabash High School. Well done episode. I thought that was great, and those 2 students were so polished. They know exactly where they want to go in life, and the quotes that were coming out of those 2 young women were far beyond their age.
Yeah, you made that comment earlier in the podcast, and that's exactly how I felt. It was, and for me, it was. I told one of the valedictorians, one of her family members, this when I saw him after the episode, that I was having a week that it was like, man, in the trenches, right? Like we all have, right? Grinding it out, and the Community Foundation does a lot in education, right? And so we work on all these programs, but sometimes I fall into the trap of becoming removed or detached from what it's actually about, or remembering that these are real people, right, that we're talking about or that we're working to help. And that evening that we were able to do that interview, it was like, holy cow, like these are the best that Wabash County has to offer, right? Some of the best that Wabash County has to offer, and just reinforced that the confidence in our next generation, right? That oftentimes get a bad rap, and not just about the grades, right? Or the two students. It was just a snapshot of this next generation, and was just really great for me personally, selfishly, in that conversation to get to hear from both of them that week. It was excellent. So
it was interesting as, I had come up with the idea that we wanted to highlight those special students that had worked so hard. And so, reached out to all of the local high schools. And unfortunately, I'd gotten sick right before that, and I wasn't able to do the interview. And so you stepped in and did a fantastic job. But what I was hearing back from the guidance counselors was, hey, you have to remember these are high school students, and sometimes they're a little shy. That is not what came across from those two young ladies.
no, the confidence, their ability to articulate what makes them tick, their stories as individuals that shaped their values, that now shape their career path, that shape what they want to be when they grow up, and the community they want to do it in, right? It was fantastic. And so kudos to their families and their mentors and their teachers and everybody from this community that's poured into them up until this point. And it'll be exciting to watch them in the years ahead.
Yeah. And as we're now on season 2 of the podcast, we're learning a lot about scheduling. And, there are episodes that come out that our listeners may hear. For example, Etna Acres recently came out. Great conversation with the golf course. But what people don't realize is that was recorded like 5 months prior in their off season. And so, that timing and trying to figure out what works for our guest. And then we want it to release and be in a time that it's relevant. If we would have released one about a golf course in January, I could see, I wouldn't necessarily want to listen. But I say that because when came up with the idea for the salutatorian and valedictorians to be highlighted, I also didn't realize how close of a window we wanted to do it when it was relevant. And so it released right after graduation weekend. But a lot of these schools don't know who their valedictorian is going to be until right before. And so, unfortunately, we didn't get all of the valedictorian and salutatorians on, but that offer still stands to all of those students.
Absolutely.
And if the guidance counselors, the principals, they want to reach back out and say, hey, we know it's not as timely, but we would love to have your students on the podcast. There is also a Google form that Christine and her team has put out there. So if you have somebody in the community that we need to highlight and bring in, and they have an amazing story, please use that form. I have an episode coming up here later in 2026 with a young lady who has a remarkable story, who grew up here in the county and has hiked the Appalachian Trail and done some other remarkable things. And that came through the Google form that somebody nominated. Otherwise, she doesn't even live in our community right now. And so I would not have known to reach out to Erin. But Erin came in and just had a great time sharing her story.
There's not a week that goes by that I'm not in a meeting, driving somewhere through the community, somebody calls, and I'm just like, why haven't we interviewed them yet?
Oh,
right?
I know, me too.
There's an idea for an episode. There's an idea for an episode. And so hopefully for people that are listening and like, man, I'd really want to do an episode, don't take that we haven't asked you any offense to that, right? And please reach out, use that Google form, or next time that you see one of us, just make mention of it, because we want to talk to you. We want to share the stories and the different exciting things going on in the county.
Yeah.
Yeah. Speaking of more podcasts, you have exciting things and partnerships happening in the podcast world, Alex, coming right up quickly.
Yeah, with Nate Spangle.
Yeah.
Gosh, a few months ago, had the opportunity with Nate Spangle to go down and be on the Get In Indiana podcast. Nate has kind of built a business around being a social media influencer for all things Indiana and highlighting all stories, all people, every corner of the state, right? And so that was a lot of fun to go down and be on his podcast. And then, yes, we're hosting Nate to where he's going to cover a lot of different things going on in the county and promote that to his network, just to highlight all of the exciting momentum and things going on across Wabash County. But then we are going to, part of that, his time here will be the opportunity to interview him for the ThriveIN Wabash County podcast. So there'll be an episode coming out later this year where we get to flip the script a little bit. Nate's used to being the one interviewing hundreds of people, maybe thousands now at this point, across all of the different things he's done across the state, but get to host him on the ThriveIN Wabash County podcast and highlight a little of his story, things he's seen across Indiana.
Yeah.
And then really it's his last thing during his time here in Wabash County after a couple days. So just to get his feedback on what he's seen or heard during his time here will be really exciting to capture some of that too for our listeners.
I think we should make sure that we link the episode that Alex was on the podcast so that our listeners can check that out from our show notes. I do a lot of podcast listening. I'm on the road a lot. I listen to a lot of stuff at 1.4 or 1.5 speed.
Not Nate Spangle.
Not Nate Spangle and not Alex Downard. I was at 0.9 or at 1 at max. That was it. So full of energy, though. You did a great job on that.
A different audience or an audience that we may not be in front of all the time. I think that our listeners that get tired of how fast I talk or if my voice listening to the ThriveIN podcast, they may not want to listen to the Nate episode because at least I feel that I talk a little slower than Nate sometimes as he gets going, but I'm sure when
they'll
we're
want to
both going,
listen.
it goes
They
back
can
and
slow
forth.
down. They can do it at, what is it? What's slower? You go
like 0.9.
Yeah, but less than 1. Yeah. It'll be fine.
Also, you were on another podcast. I think I saw a little
Yes,
something
you were.
scroll up the other day on my socials.
Lundquist podcast.
Bob Lundquist, yep.
That was so
Bob,
good too.
Yeah, the Lundquist team has rolled out a podcast
Way
a
before
couple
us.
years ago.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's great. They talk all things real estate, communities, otherwise. Yeah. So I had the opportunity to go on their podcast and with Keanu and do an interview with him. And it was great. Yeah. It just highlighted all things that are going on in the community that prospective home buyers may care about, prospective residents may care about. But there were some things that maybe some of our residents may not have heard either that also be good to check out their podcast. We can probably link the Lundquist show too.
Absolutely.
In our show notes because they were fantastic. And that's one that has been on my list for a while is having Bob and Christy Lundquist in the studio. So we'll get to that in 2026 for sure for our listeners that, gosh, 40 years maybe plus that Lundquist Real Estate and Appraisals has been in Wabash. And so it'll be great to hear Bob and I think his mom and actually started the business, but to get Bob and Christy into the studio, talk about what it's like being married and working in a business together, talk about the history of Lundquist. And yeah, so that'll be an exciting episode coming in 26 also.
Yeah, the mayor obviously has been on our podcast a couple of times. I know has been on the Lundquist podcast. And so some of the things on as far as residential development, housing development, that we don't have maybe as much time to dig into those issues with the mayor on. He goes on their podcast. So, you can always do a search for that as well. Speaking of, I think the mayor is excited to share some news with us later in 2026. So be on the lookout. We're always excited to have the mayor in the studio.
We had a great episode with Commissioner Nickham. That was a really fun one too. We've got an episode coming up with the town manager, Adam Penrod.
Yep.
So that'll be released sometime. We, like you said, we record at different times when it's conducive to our guest schedules and our schedules. And so I think you've got some of the lineup over there, some drop dates, but my mind sometimes gets foggy on when I recorded it versus when it goes live.
Yeah. It is an interesting balance to record an episode. It may not come out for 6 months, but then we're recording tonight and this may drop in a week or two.
Yeah.
It's just the way that it works. Alex, we also had the opportunity to sit down with a couple doctors and published authors. Mm-hmm. That was an interesting conversation and our first time to actually have a phone-in conversation, which if we had to do it over again, we'd probably make some changes. But Alex and I are in the studio just basically staring at each other. We can't see the guest, which made for some awkward moments here in the studio. But really cool conversation with experts.
Yeah, both really neat folks. And apologies to our listeners on that one. Just to echo what Adam was saying, trying to interview somebody that you're not looking at and then being in the studio with somebody that's also trying to help. It was, it was interesting.
Go back and if you listen to that, go back and watch it because I'm sorry, but you're right. It is so awkward. We did that too, but we were lucky when we did the Honeywell Arts Academy episode. We did have one guest in studio, so we could just awkwardly stare only at her. Like she was the one talking. And I would agree that was hard when you had a call-in guest. You can't read body language. Like we can kind of look to see if one of us is going to speak next. And there's a little bit of a lag. So are they going to answer? And do I cut them? Yep. Again, learning a lot.
Thanks for mentioning the Honeywell Arts Academy and that program with Renan and his wife, Emily. That just happened in Wabash County. Please, please, please put that on your calendar for 2027. They've already released the dates of when those performances will happen. I will be buying tickets as soon as they go on. This year's performance, I say this every year, but it just somehow managed to get better than the year before.
We didn't even tell you this because I know, Alex, you weren't able to make one of those performances. I know you went to some of them. The grand finale, on Saturday.
Modoc, right?
Yes!
Yeah, that's what I heard.
It was tremendous, this piece that they created. And to see Mike and Angie Beecham, the owner of Modoc's Espresso Bar and Cafe, hear this piece specifically about Modoc the elephant was I hope someone got that on film. You have got to see it. It is tremendous.
In the years past, they've played Hey Jude, or they'll play an AC/DC rock song that you do not expect to come from the artists that are on that stage. They always pull it off. This year, what a surprise, though.
Oh my gosh, so good. I actually got tears. I'm not going to lie. I got tears.
And then everybody's invited to the ballroom afterwards, and you can meet the artist. Some of the artists' families were there. A young gentleman, I can't remember his name, played the mandolin, and I happened to just sit next to his parents in the audience, and you could tell because as soon as he came on for his first performance,
Buckled up.
Phones were out. They're out.
Love
They're laughing and clapping and doing all the things. But to hear from the artist their experiences in Wabash County for the week or two that they're here, and how welcoming, and they're so appreciative of everything that's here. It's probably like no other experience that they get to have when they're off.
Mm-hmm. And to see Sean, who is from China, I don't remember where in China, he played, I'm sorry, musicians out there, I don't know what the big jumbo xylophone is called, but he would just be playing the jumbo xylophone with 4 hammer things, and then all of a sudden he was on the drums in the same piece. It was cool to watch and incredible to see and hear.
Even if you're not a music lover, the amount of energy and the passion that comes out of those young artists that are on stage, that's why I'm there. Like, they celebrate each other. You can tell that it's their Super Bowl. They're having so much fun in that moment. They've put in so much work to where they're at, and then they're just sharing their talents with us.
Yeah, and a lot of them have never met each other. A lot of the things that they play, they've never played before that. They get into town that week, right? And so then they just get on stage and deliver it so flawlessly. And again, I missed residents this year, but in years past, and it's just the most impressive from memory, right? Like a lot of them, no notes.
Songs that had just been created 48 hours prior, and they're coming together and performing.
Yeah, in a theater full of people. Yeah.
And you think about innovation, think about what that must be like the first time the Honeywell Foundation team discussed how do we take the tradition of Wabash, which has been in existence in Wabash for 19 years, and turn it into an academy where people are instructors and now they have a fellowship and this week-long celebration of music. Imagine that's visionary. That's visionary type of work planning and execution. I mean, the Honeywell Center already does a fabulous job. They just don't settle. And what a benefit to those who live here to get to experience it so affordably. Saturday tickets were literally buy one, get one free.
At one point, they ran a small special. They were free.
Wow, just a narrow window.
If you went to one of the events up in the ballroom, they gave you a coupon code for free tickets to residents.
Yeah. And the number, I sat next to a couple who have become huge supporters of Honeywell Arts Academy. They do not live here. They live north of Fort Wayne. And then they said, we have fallen in love with this program. But this Honeywell Arts Academy brings people from all across the country in to see these performances. So yay tourism, yay exposure to our community. And then every single one of those students are out from outside of our area, and they have to apply. I think it's pretty competitive to be selected because it's 100% scholarship.
And then we talk about this in the episode when Kathy Gatchell joined us here in the studio, and Renan and his wife Emily. But they had to actually cap the number of years that the artist can reapply.
Wow.
So they can come in, I think it's back-to-back years, but then they have to sit out because there were so many people wanting in on this program.
That's great.
Some of the data that comes out on the number of major orchestras in the United States where members from those orchestras have passed through Wabash because of Wabash or because of Arts Academy, unreal.
Yeah, go back and listen to that episode because that's really impressive, to have that be in our community. I just saw, or others might have just saw, you had a huge dedication through Imagine Early recently.
Yeah. The Imagine Early program at the Community Foundation, we're entering our 11th school year. And so last year, as a part of just our annual summer and fall enrollment campaign, partnered with a nonprofit organization out of Indianapolis called New Shoe Day. And New Shoe Day's mission is to end shoe insecurity across the state of Indiana.
Clever.
And believe in the power of what a brand new pair of shoes might do for a student that's never, or a family that's never owned a brand new pair of shoes that came in a shoe box, which for a second, if you take to think about that, for those of us that have been fortunate enough to have a new pair of shoes in a box, what that experience, we can all maybe think back to what that felt like, right? When we got a new pair of shoes out of a box, or we today, right, get a new pair of shoes out of a box, and the first time you put that on, and the confidence that comes with that. And so we, with the Imagine Early program for the last decade, it's about the same thing, right? Creating group identity and confidence to step into their future, right? And believing in the power of education and what that can mean for their future. So it was a great partnership. We were able to put 815 students in the Imagine Early program in a brand new pair of shoes, 4th through 8th graders last year. As a part of that enrollment campaign, posted record enrollment numbers for the program. And so just as we thought and received feedback from the community as a part of that program, both positive and just potential changes for us as we think about the future, thought about how do we create a permanent resource for families in the community. And at the same time, New Shoe Day's model is they're working to put a shoe bank, no different than food pantry or anything else, but a shoe bank in every county in the state of Indiana. And primarily they have, I think, 13 or 14 right now that are in the Indianapolis area. And so through our partnership last school year and what we did with Imagine Early, wanted to offer that in Wabash and create that shoe bank in Wabash. And so as we think about partnerships, Lighthouse Mission and Jenny Ritzman, all the great work that she's doing down there was a great partnership. And hopefully that Lighthouse is a space where families feel comfortable going, right? And so it was an effort. We want to make sure we're meeting families where they're at and where they feel comfortable. And so, yeah, with New Shoe Day, Lighthouse Mission, and our Imagine Early program, we're able to install and have a ribbon cutting a couple weeks ago for a new shoe bank that will continue to stock throughout the year, but where families and children, so school-age children, can go and receive one pair of shoes every single year at the Imagine Early Shoe Bank down at Lighthouse Mission in Wabash County. And so when I left the office earlier, I think we have 12 or 13 appointments Friday alone, right? So the phones at our office have turned into a phone bank almost as we're fielding calls, but that's why we did it, right? We want to, our staff will schedule the appointment. So any family that's listening that might be interested or know a family that might be interested can call our office, 260-982-4824, and book a time that works for them, right? And somebody from our staff or a couple of people from our staff will meet them as we're sizing the student with the pair of shoes, have a conversation just about the Imagine Early program, and it's completely free for folks to register and can earn up to $3,000 through that program that can support their next step after high school, right? Whether that's the trades, a certificate program, tools for the trades, four-year college, associate's degree, books, laptops to go towards an educational expense. At the ribbon cutting, when I was making a few remarks, was that the Imagine Early program is so unique to counties in Indiana, right? And I could say that I didn't create the program, so I'm not being biased about it. My predecessor did, but no better example of our community that's now fully endowed that program so that it'll be here forever, to be able to invest that every single student that's born, every single child that's born in Wabash County in birth through 12th grade can earn up to $3,000 now by completing their regular everyday schoolwork, showing up to school, having an internship. Students earn money to support their future, and then we have our traditional scholarships to come around behind that, right? And so that's the Imagine Early program. We have, I know, an episode about that, but this shoe bank was just another add-on that we could make and support through our program, just again, so that those families that might be out there that may not think education is possible or may not think that they can afford to put their child in a brand new pair of shoes, that resource exists in our community, and our community continues to collaborate together to make these investments possible, both small and large. And so we hope that it's a great resource for the community. And Lighthouse Mission, again, can call the Community Foundation office to schedule time to get into the shoes. But yeah, really exciting partnership.
I like how I feel blessed by a community foundation that also doesn't just settle. It's always, what can we do more of to support more and meet them where the need is. And so the fact that you weren't just assuming what people might find useful and beneficial to not only get them what they need for school and for families, but then to also give an option to consider the Imagine Early program. And until you shared the first round of New Shoe Day, I didn't really even think about what a new pair of shoes can mean to someone. And so it was humbling for me to recognize, yeah, you're right. Like, I love getting a new pair of shoes, but what that can mean to a young person. And now there's just no barrier, right? They can come in, they can get fitted for it, also learn about this other opportunity in such a safe space. And that's what Jenny and all the team at Lighthouse Mission do, is that's what was a perfect partnership between all three of you to be there.
Yeah, we're really excited. And I think Mayor said in his remarks, right, that somebody that may be getting into these shoes is now walking into school, walking onto a sports field with a level of confidence that they haven't had before.
Sure.
And that young person might turn out to be, I think Mayor's words were, the next CEO, plant manager, shift manager, mayor of the city of Wabash.
That's right.
And that's truly investing in our next generation, in our futures. Just really exciting. And I think we're all just privileged to be able to do that work every day and appreciate a community that supports that.
Yeah. Thank you for doing that. I also want to thank both of you. You lead well at your organizations and in the community, but recently when our community had some significant weather hit the south side of Wabash, Alex, you made sure that you and your team took the day off from the office and went to the south side and you helped clean up. And I've heard that from other people that have reported back talking about you and the efforts that your whole team put in that day. And same with Visit Wabash County and the staff there went out on their own time and helped remove trees and tree limbs and metal and all the debris. So thank you for leading organizations that step up. And like you said, they don't settle. You're always looking to do something more, even if it's not part of the job. You guys are stepping up and going above and beyond.
Thank you for recognizing that. And I think you would agree with me, Alex. My team who went out on a different day than your team was out on a day, our teams never questioned it. No, none of, I'm sure your team, my team never thought, oh, that's going to be, I'm already so busy or if my life is full. It was like, absolutely. And they just rolled up their sleeves and they showed up and they helped and didn't think twice.
Nope. And we've talked about this before on the podcast, right? But just you or I or our teams, it's what the people before us in this community do, and the people today continue to do, whether they're in an organization like ours or just everyday residents or
like
people that own a tree company or roof company that just show up, everything stops, right? We're all, the world, everybody's incredibly busy, but when something like that happens, especially so close to home, right, for all of us, all of the work we do matters and is exciting, but we all, right, can be in it and to take a step back and realize the perspective of what actually is really important, right? And when things like that happen and so close to home and in our community, it's what everybody did before us, and it's what hopefully we're continuing that tradition forward so that whoever's in my shoes 100 years from now does the same thing.
Yeah,
agreed.
And I highlighted you and your organizations, but there were other community members. They just show up.
That's what Wabash County does.
That's right.
Right. That's what Wabash County does time and time again.
Mayor, I believe, was in a city dump truck. I mean, he was assisting with some of the cleanup and on site. So absolutely, you're right. That's just what we do in this county. And you, Adam, yes, we have teams that we oversee and are blessed to work alongside, but you are also one of those stakeholders who's instilling that in your children too, right? And so we know that the future generations are seeing what we're doing to give so much of your time and dedication to help somebody else. And it's not always convenient, but that doesn't matter, right? Those needs don't happen when it's convenient.
That's right. As we're looking into the rest of 2026, what are you guys looking forward to? Obviously, Alex, you got a big wedding coming up, but in the
he didn't
community,
ask us to be in his bridal party. I figured I would be the best man and you would be a groomsman. He didn't even ask us.
He didn't ask you?
Stop.
No, I'm joking.
I'm just kidding. Go ahead. Yeah. What do you have besides
Excited
that?
to have you both there. Just not up front.
You don't want us to be flower girl and the ring bearer?
There's still auditions for the spots.
Could we live broadcast
Oh my gosh, it would be so good.
Please no.
a play-by-play on the podcast?
Please no.
Okay, we won't.
Please no.
So, Alex, what are you looking forward to in the community and the rest of 2026?
Yeah, it feels like a really exciting time. With anything, right? Your next projects like a shoe bank or like the Run the River, right? Things that happen, the next wave of projects are already underway, right? And just so when we get to actually celebrate the completion of a project or a program or an event, that's not when we start thinking about what's next, right? And so that is an exciting season always, just as we've talked about on before, right? But it's just, you have a concept, you move it through due diligence, you identify how much money you need, you find the money, you implement the project, right? And that's just the system that our team works through. I know you're much more organized, Christine, you and your team work through for anything. But that's what we're looking forward to. One of the things we launched in 2026 at the Community Foundation was expanding a lot of our what we now call nonprofit capacity building work. So obviously folks know the Community Foundation for grant making, and that will always be a part of what we do. And obviously with increasing generosity from our community and as our assets continue to grow, the more of that we can do. But what are the other things that we can do to support our nonprofits here in Wabash County, right?
And so I'm going to interrupt you because that is a game changer. The set of workshops that's being hosted by the Community Foundation are incredibly valuable, Alex. And so anyone listening who serves on a board, works for a nonprofit, volunteers for a nonprofit, wants to start a nonprofit, I highly, highly encourage them to reach out to Sam McFadden, correct, at the Community Foundation, get on that email list and attend. I haven't been able to attend them all. I have been able to attend several. And even, 14 years leading a nonprofit organization, I'm still learning. Having board members who are seasoned and also new in service on a nonprofit board of directors are attending these. And so, yes, it's a great scope of work, but I cannot help but reiterate and thank you for adding that as an additional programming piece to the Community Foundation. It's awesome. It's really great.
That was a great commercial and plug. Thank you.
It's true.
That's
and
kind
I
of
won't waste my time.
No
all of
doubt.
us are
And
busy.
everybody is, right? And that's just what I'll say to any of our nonprofit leaders is we will put the education together, right? And our team's committed to doing that and know that it's such a valuable thing, whether you're just brand new or starting out, right? We hope that by 4 or 5 years from now, we're flying in speakers from across the country to give 400 or 500 level topics because we've had folks that have attended the 100, the 200 level, and we'll always continue to offer things and resources for nonprofit leaders or volunteers across the level of experience. So that feedback from what topics you want to hear or would be helpful. Running nonprofit or for-profit, sometimes you're in a silo, right? Or as a board member, an organization may feel like you're running up against a wall. And we want to be a resource for more than just money for folks and know that it takes a lot more than money for an organization to be sustainable long-term. And that's the goal, right, is that we can help. So education is what we've rolled out in 26. And then also what we're calling shared services collaboration is kind of our third leg to our nonprofit capacity building stool with grant making, education, and then shared services. And receive some money at the end of 25 to support the shared service work. And so we have just finished an initial round of convenings of mission-aligned nonprofits, and then we'll continue to pull folks together on an individual basis and then in other groups to help us get a better understanding of what collaborative opportunities might be out there for nonprofits to where each of them can reduce their operating budgets or operating organizational budgets and then ultimately become more sustainable long-term by collaborating on programs or different shared service things. So we're really excited about that as we pull that together and hopefully strengthening and building capacity amongst our nonprofit organizations to address the needs that each of them are doing. How do we do more of that, right? Whatever the need is that an organization's formed to do, how do we work collectively to address that?
Once again, thinking outside of the box,
Always.
pushing the envelope. How do we put our foot down on the pedal even further?
And help strengthen the greater good of
The ecosystem, right?
Not just how can the community foundations continue to thrive and keep money coming into its endowment and provide value. And it is always the greater good of all, and so, absolutely. What about you?
2 of my favorite events in the year happen on the same day, actually. River Defenders and Bluegrass. It makes for one long, exhausting day. Because
Now, Bluegrass is different this year.
Is it different this year? Tell me more.
I will tell you more. So you don't have to be so exhausted. You can do river cleanup.
She's heard you. She took your feedback, and now she's shifted the whole thing.
Just like you did.
Yep.
He should be our mentor. Have you noticed we're leaning in?
He is mine.
Bluegrass is at the end of August this year. But please continue about your 2 favorite events, mainly the latter, but...
Thanks for educating me on the date change.
You retired off my board of directors, and now I have to spoon feed you all these
We
days.
all learn a little something on the ThriveIN Wabash County podcast.
True.
river cleanup is always impactful. A fun day on the river. We may not pull as much trash out of the river as what we used to, but that's because the program's working.
Yeah.
But it's a great day to celebrate and for all the people to get out and that enjoy being on the river to, kind of give back a little bit. And then obviously the work that Jennifer and your team pours into bluegrass. So end of August, I'll make sure I put that on my calendar.
August 29th. Yep.
How about for you? What are you looking forward to?
Work-wise, so the experiences team, I can't share too much, but they have some 2027 experience shakeups happening that they're going to roll out that I'm really excited about. And that's good for both Jennifer and Stephanie, who concept those ideas so that things don't fall stale. And then the marketing side, it's taking what we've learned from doing this podcast and the storytelling and using it to leverage and reach more of an audience and leaning heavy into it as a marketing tool. And the piece of education that my office leads, the Marketing Consortium, which is that free monthly marketing get-together for marketers across all spectrums in the county, and the way they're educating themselves within that room about long-form AI searching. And I act like I know exactly what that is. I pretty much do, but
Rolled off the tongue good.
yeah. And so what we want to do is be really good stewards. And this podcast is fun for us, but there's purpose in it. And so we want to make sure that we are good stewards of the people who sit in this room and record in their time and also your guys' time, right? So we're doing some more innovative marketing with our episodes and some of this evergreen content as well. Personally, I've got a big trip coming up. I turn the big 50 this year. I know you can't hardly tell it, but I've got a trip planned for Greece. And as you both know, I love to travel. I love to be a tourist. I love to visit other places. And so what the biggest blessing in all of that is not only spending time with some of my dearest friends, but I can be gone out of country for a significant amount of time and trust, of course, that my team can lead. I was once told a long time ago in my professional career, it's a pretty sad circus if one monkey can stop the show.
Mm-hmm.
And so me being gone, it's also damn weekend that I'm gone.
That
But-
may have been an oversight.
Oops. But
Or not.
knowing that my entire team, I have zero worry, right? And so I am looking forward to that as well. And one other piece, and I bet you both would agree, I really enjoy the diverse guests I get to sit down with in this room. I really do. This podcast has blessed me in more ways than I had thought when we talked about, I think it might have been launching season 2, some things I learned where the way my brain works is I thought I had to fit each episode to hit this certain mark. And now I kind of just let the episodes flow and go where they're going to go. And some of the beauty and the truth and what I've learned and been inspired by in this room by the people who are doing the work. It's been awesome. So I'm excited to see where the rest of season 2 and where season 3 takes us.
Yeah, that was well said, because that just sitting here and having a conversation, it's great that it's recorded, but just to sit and talk for an hour with a guest that you normally wouldn't have that much time with is really rewarding.
Yeah. Nope. And I think that it's became not just a marketing tool, but an information platform, right? Where we can direct people in each of our roles, right? Or have a guest on that wants to share about an upcoming change in the community or to provide an answer to often asked questions that may be out there, or dispel rumors that may be out there. I think it's become a platform, and hopefully will continue to be a platform that people can go to for information, right? Yeah. Accurate information from guests that we're able to have on and to share their story or share, like I said, updates about what's going on.
Yeah. I am still blown away the number of people that you mentioned earlier, people will say, oh, I listened to episode, I really enjoyed it. The number of people that come to me and say, my favorite is still when you did the Cordisberry Farms with Erica and Jared.
Gosh, what was that, like number 2?
That was my first episode. I think it was our episode, like 2 or 3, but it was the first solo episode we put out there. And to say that I was nervous, like, doesn't even come close, right? I mean, we're sitting behind equipment we've really never used. We've never been radio DJs or sat behind a mic or have to interview someone.
No.
And I was so nervous going into that, but it hit. I mean, people were excited to learn the story behind the scenes of a young couple who decided they're going to start a berry farm in Wabash County. Why? I mean, why did you start and bring in the new shoe day? The behind the scenes, the things that we don't see when we do know that exists, and we have families that apply and they get new shoes. But why? Like, people really want to know. So it's been a lot of fun sitting in this seat and getting to know people.
And sweaty, because it is still nerve-wracking every time. Well, not today, but it's like I get nervous when I'm sitting there. I think that's why we all avoided, other than Adam, because you just get nervous that we've had it happen. We've recorded with a guest. It was Bill Barrows. The video didn't work. I've recorded with Mr. Woodward and the sound didn't work. We had to completely re-record. I had that happen when I had my marketing team in for their first podcast episode. So there are points when I sit in the driver's seat where I'm like, oh, just please, please go okay. You're brave. You'll switch between screens. I'm like, once I'm set, I'm sticking. The less I touch this, then the better.
No doubt.
Well, as we get ready to wrap up this episode, which has been a pleasure to sit in the studio with you, the two of you,
Always.
what else is on your mind? What else do we need to know about Alex or about something going on in the community that everybody should be aware about?
Manchester, after taking a lot of community feedback, has decided to bring back in the summer what used to be called Fun Fest, where it's one weekend, but with all of the recent investments and future investments around the riverfront, is programming it, and it is now called Alive by the River, or the Eel River. The series
Fest.
is Alive by the River. That weekend's Eel River Music Fest. And so this is the first year of kind of that revamped Fun Fest, but all playing around music, capitalizing on the downtown. And really, it's to start laying the groundwork for this annual Eel River Music Festival that once the new Riverfront Park that Adam Penrod talks a lot about in his upcoming episode, our $10 million Riverfront Park in downtown North Manchester, right on the riverfront. There'll be an amphitheater and as a part of that project. And so just really capitalizing on the downtown investment around the Eel River that'll come up in the next couple of years. The hope is to begin this event, get some of the initial kinks out, begin to build a brand around the event so that 4 or 5 years from now, it's something that people are coming to from outside of just Wabash County or the North Manchester community, but is also an accessible and event that has a little bit for all types of people that live in our community as well. So yeah, that is the last weekend in July into the 1st of August.
So it's the same weekend as Wabash River Defenders.
Okay.
So July
So
31st, August 1st, and August 2nd, I believe.
Yeah,
and
you're
give me
right.
some. Okay, are the
So
dates
you're back
around
stuck
that?
now. You're going to be tired.
Yeah, yeah. So that'll be a lot of fun and exciting to see that grow in the next. To get started this summer and revamp that and see the community's response, get feedback. And I know Manchester Alive's really excited. Heather Cruz and Sabrina Klein's doing a lot of work and pulling together a lot of volunteers and all of the moving pieces of that. And every little thing that'll be in that weekend has pulled in a local organization that leads it, right? So whether it's the women's basketball team or the college football team or whatever it is, there's different leads and organizations that are participating and are able to raise money for whatever their cause is as a part of that. So
Awesome.
that'll be
for
exciting
sharing.
this summer. And to see just more of those downtown Manchester projects that Adam talks a lot about continue to unfold and then to see the next one start will be a lot of fun.
Awesome. Thanks for sharing that. And by the time we all sit down in this room again, you're going to be a married man. So congratulations on that, and really looking forward to it.
And it'll be, he, his bride, and you and me in the background. So we'll just talk to the photographer, give them our number. We'll help set that up, what that's going to look like for
There you go. There you go.
Christine, how about you? What would you like to share?
I'm going to give a couple high-level highlights and chime in some Main Street updates. So the Rowan Community Heritage, their park is underway in Rowan, correct?
Almost done.
All put together,
Yep,
volunteers.
we just signed the closeouts a couple weeks ago. So it will be complete. And they've got a community build for some of their playground equipment coming up here in
Yeah.
about a month. So that'll be exciting. Yeah.
LeGros Canal Foundation, they're still working on getting what they hope to be a grocery. And you recently joined their board of directors. Is that correct?
Yep. We've got some legs and some momentum going, hopefully to bring that project to fruition the next year or so.
Manchester Alive has started phase 2 in the lower level of their building, which is also the COOP, the incubator, small business incubator. Yeah.
Yep.
And so we helped clean out, the board got together on Saturday morning, helped clean out the lower level, fill the dumpster. And so they can start phase 2. Help me go through all our main streets. The Fountain Community Alliance. They had their block party. I think it was the same weekend as Run the River and First Friday in downtown Wabash. And so they're still working toward raising money for their mural.
And then their park project is going to be getting underway, which is their stellar project down there. So I think phase one's around a $600,000 phase one to the LaFountain Cook Crumley Park, which will be exciting to see that come to fruition for them.
I should have just let him do the Main Street.
No, it's great.
I tried. And then so Downtown Wabash Inc., you're also on a committee for that, which is great that, well, Downtown Wabash Inc. has their facade grant program right now that's available to all their downtown businesses. And so anything to add to that since you're on a committee for that too?
No, I think that Downtown Wabash Inc.,
all
Visit
of our
Wabash
Main
community partners are all working hard and listening to the community just about as downtowns across the country in rural communities are facing either stagnation or what may feel like businesses are real, right? We've heard from small businesses that it's a challenging time. And so I think Downtown Wabash is working hard, as are other partners, to listen to that feedback and see where we may need to lean in to help just provide attention in areas in our community. So we're really excited this year to hopefully see some areas of downtown Wabash and other downtowns across the county, and to look to engage the community around those opportunities at a deeper level in 2026 and as we move into 27 as well.
Yeah.
Well done. Speaking of downtown businesses, I've walked by a downtown business probably hundreds of times. They're a fairly new business, but I always peek in the window, but I've never gone in until I listened to your episode with Kyle and is it Aubrey?
Aubrey, yeah.
Aubrey. 4 Seasons, amazing facility, indoor golf simulator, but you can also bowl and throw footballs, pool tables, dartboards, duck hunt.
Yeah.
They had a shuffleboard, but,
Oh, Stephanie, she played Super Mario Kart on a big screen. No, not Mario Kart.
Pac-Man.
The original Mario.
Oh.
Like dun, dun, ting, ting. You know what I'm talking about? Where he hits the coins? Mario Brothers?
I thought she was ringing the trolley bell.
I thought you had a sound effect button.
Yes,
Finally
4
found the
Seasons.
sound effect
Yes.
button.
So I finally went in on I think it might have been a First Friday evening. Went in, had a great time. I mean, very, very affordable. I honestly did not do the golf simulator. Somebody was already in there, but we played pool, we did shuffleboard, and most of what they have in there is free. Mm-hmm. You just come and hang out. And
when you listen to that episode, and it's kind of feeds off of what you said earlier about sitting in this room and having an hour conversation. It's a social club where they want people to be social with one another, one-to-one. And our country, our world is craving that because we get email separates us. We're not even hearing people's voices anymore. Texting, we're not hearing people's voices anymore. Social media, we're not hearing voices anymore unless it's a video. So I love the heart of the vision of what they have created, not even trying, what they have created there. Is that intimate connection to be social.
Yeah, it was very inviting. There were other couples in there, and we invited a couple other people to come join. So it's a really nice space right in the heart of downtown.
Yeah, and it's not. Sometimes if you feel like going out and going to a bar, and that's okay. If you want an alcoholic beverage, you can have it, but that's not the focus. The focus is to be social, whether that's with, an Alani drink out of the case or a frozen, slushie with a little bit of, I don't know what the flavored slushies they are, but they're alcoholic slushies, it's for all. But it's 21 or older currently. I think they're working on some separation where families could come in that's separate from where they do have a bar area.
Okay.
Great mention.
Yeah, no, it was a lot of fun.
Yeah.
And I honestly, I've walked by there. I walked back and forth to work quite a bit. I always peek in, I see what's going on, or if I'm walking around downtown in the evening, I see people in there. Just had never stopped in until your episode made me just do it. They have so much heart for the community.
Yeah, I'm excited to see the space. And a few times this summer with different events. I know the fellowship students are going to be in there for a couple different events. That's one of our stops with Nate Spangle, so hopefully he'll get to capture what's going on at 4 Seasons. I've not been in there yet. I'm excited to see it, and just gratefulness for people like Kyle and Aubrey for just sticking their neck out, right, and continuing to invest in this community when it's something new, right, and to them, something new to the community, and just to give just one more amenity, right, for something for people to do, low cost, Adam, to like you said, and Volt Family Fund, same way, and their investments. I know that's what used to be in that space, right?
Yeah,
so,
and in your episode, they do a great job of talking about how they supported Volt, and they outgrew that space and moved on. Yeah. but they've partnered with Tim's Thai or
Yep.
the Bubbles and Boba.
Right.
And, like it's
Pizza
a
King, yeah.
collaboration. They're working with the other business owners to grow our community, not just their pocketbooks or their business, community growth.
Great. Yeah.
There's a lot going on.
We're lucky we live here. Right? I mean, really.
We're lucky we thrive here.
We
Ooh.
thrive. So good.
I have to give a shout out to Todd Schindler and the My Team Triumph group. They showed up heavy at the Run the River. They always do. They'll be at Dam to Dam.
Yep.
I have not been as athletic as I would like to be over the last
Could have fooled us.
a year or so ago. Started having some issues with with a knee due to an injury. Had those taken care of, but the rebound was a little slower than I wanted. But Todd was there kind of coaching me along quietly and just so softly and always saying, when you're ready, we would love to have you participate. And so I got to go down to Cicero and do a triathlon with My Team Triumph in the last couple of weeks and just absolutely loved it. Those athletes that are out there and to see them at Run the River, the smiles on their face as they cross the finish line. So I'm looking forward to going out and doing some more races this summer with Todd and the group. But if you're not aware of what My Team Triumph is, there was an episode that I did where,
so good.
So anyways, I think that was in season 1, I believe.
I think it was, yeah. That is a great episode too. Man.
Yeah. But
Great shout out. That is
so much kindness that everybody, I mean, it's just.
And the angels that run with the captains, that whole, it's another community within a community, the way the volunteers locally have grown to be an angel for one of those captains. And this community supports My Team Triumph wholeheartedly. They run, thanks to Matt Chittick and Chittick Insurance, My Team Triumph always participates 100% for free in Wabash Run the River. And because of all of our support and sponsors for Dam to Dam, they also participate 100%, both the captain and the angel, for free in Dam to Dam.
Yep.
And you fooled us on your physical fitness. You walked in tonight and I asked if you were wearing a small or a medium-sized polo or if you were just in really great shape. And
well, let's just say
sounds like you just did a triathlon. So.
I've not been doing cardio. So swimming, biking, and running has not been in the scheme of things lately, but it was fun to get out there and gave me some hope that it's not over.
I don't think any of us had a doubt, Adam. I don't know if you did. But.
Yeah, for sure. For sure.
Thanks for taking the time to sit down tonight and just catch up on life and all things happening in Wabash and Wabash County and in our personal lives. Always a pleasure.
We're going to carpool for our tux fitting, right? For groomsmen. Okay.
Sure.
Yeah.
Can't wait.
We'll be there. It's fitting so good. You think I'm kidding?
So good. I don't.
Oh, it's been great to be with you guys too.
Yep. Like many things, generosity from the public has made the ThriveIN podcast possible. It's people and organizations like the Bowen Health Center, the Lisa Gilman Investment Fund, Sandra Kunkel Trust, Mark and Amy Ford, Paperworks Industries, the City of Wabash, the Community Foundation of Wabash County, and Visit Wabash County that make the ThriveIN podcast possible and to share the stories of all of our community members. So until next time, I'm Adam Stakeman.
I'm Christine Flohr.
And I'm Alex Downard.
And this is ThriveIN Wabash County.